feel good. Josh Simon had a grab. Brady Hunt got his first catch of the year. 2 short receptions for Michael Smith. So everybody ate a little bit on Saturday. You got to see some of that depth at running back that we've heard about. Oscar Attaway was all right. Got a couple touchdowns. We got to see more than just, a Rocket Sanders. And it was nice. We'll get more into what else we saw at running back as well here in a little bit. Offensive line, the tackles in pass protection. Well, the pass protection still concerns you a little bit against a team that doesn't really rush the passer well. And Akron led C.J. Nunley off the edge is a good player. But overall, the Akron pass rush has 2 sacks all year, I believe, coming into the game. None of the sacks South Carolina gave up, though. I do believe, Tyler, if I go back and look at PFF again, Pro Football Focus did not put any of the sacks on the offensive line.
No, they did have a few on the offensive line. So Pro Football Focus grades a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So they'll attribute more than what there actually is. And as you would imagine, the tackle spots were a bit concerning.
Well, they had a tough time. I mean, running the football, South Carolina ran it really well on both edges.
Yep.
But the pass protection, again, from Casey Henry, Josiah Thompson's a freshman. We're giving him the understanding that he's a true freshman starting at left tackle. Casey Henry continues to struggle.
My concern, and numbers and stuff are one thing. The eye test of Casey Henry at right tackle is concerning me.
Yes.
He's getting put on his butt by edge guys at a struggling G5 school. You know what I mean? And look down the pipe. You got Ole Miss. You got Alabama. You got Clemson at the end of the year. You got some serious pass rushing teams that if he doesn't get any better, they're going to run over him.
Well, even when he's losing a lot at the line of scrimmage in pass protection, just basically without, even if it's not a pressure, you watch him, he's struggling. He's just struggling. And, that's the biggest thing. Pass protection with the tackles has been a thing all year, but we knew with Josiah Thompson you were going to have good moments, which you've had, and had moments of where, hey, wow, he's a freshman. But with Casey Henry, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of games started, to be fair to him. But it feels like Casey Henry's been around for 10 years.
It does. And look, we've heard in this entire time waiting for him to get healthy about how good of a right tackle he was going to be. I go back to last year, our buddy Colin Taylor was the president of the Casey Henry fan club.
Yes, he was
singing his praises all offseason on what he was going to be. And, of course, got hurt 4 games in the North Carolina game. But we spent this entire offseason like, hey, if this guy's healthy, he can be a good piece at right tackle. And I haven't seen enough there yet.
Yeah, and I always try to think about, yes, he's been around for 3 years, but again, he's had, 5 starts?
Yeah.
6 starts in his career, even though he's older. So that's the thing. He hasn't played much more than Josiah Thompson, to be fair to Casey Henry. But it has been, it's a concern. The tackle position, once you get into the team showing up here a week from Saturday is the only team in America with better pass rushing grades in South Carolina.
Yeah, they are going to bite your head off if you're not ready for them.
So you've got the tackle positions, you got to step it up a bit once this starts getting into SEC play. Bama's going to come after you off the edge. A&M still got talent, on the defensive front. And Oklahoma, their offense got destroyed by Tennessee's defense. But Oklahoma's defense did a pretty nice job of holding their own against an excellent Tennessee offense. So Oklahoma's defense is going to be a bit much to deal with as well. Didn't we go over this, when you look at this season moving forward and take out Wofford, obviously, and Vandy. But the rest of the teams you face are top 35, top 30 defenses in efficiency. And they've got some players who can really do some damage if you can't handle your business up front.
Yeah, no, you face a lot of really good defenses down the stretch. Now, coincidentally, South Carolina on the other side playing defense really well itself, so it gives you the opportunity to be in a lot of these games. But, again, you got to be able to move the ball well, and especially got to be able to protect your quarterback, who, again, has now already dealt with 1 injury. And the more you get hit, the more susceptible you are for another injury. And the last thing we want to see is, no offense, because Robbie Ashford had a great game on Saturday, I don't want to see Robbie Ashford having to go out there against Alabama, because I'm not going to have a lot of hope in that.
So you're saying these teams that South Carolina is going to play are good on defense. South Carolina is good on defense. Are we wagering the unders?
I will say this: if you win in Norman, Oklahoma, it might be 6-3.
First team to score touchdown wins.
Yes.
But here's the thing that's interesting, and we'll talk about this a lot in the next week or two, especially this week since it's a bye. When you got handed this schedule, and this is why they actually play. When you're handed the schedule, you're like, "Ooh, where are you going to find that sixth?" And we were sitting around here going, "Ooh, where are you going to find the sixth?" And now you're looking at the schedule. Now, dig this. You're going, well, A&M, not looking as difficult as you thought. That game is at Williams-Brice. Missouri barely survived on Saturday. Really should have lost.
Yep.
And so now you're going, well, Missouri at Williams-Brice, even though Eli's got voodoo on South Carolina. Oklahoma's offensive line, I mean, they look like 5 cardboard cutouts on Saturday against Tennessee.
That's an insult to cardboard cutouts.
That is true. Cardboard cutouts are be giving me all sorts of hate email. So all of a sudden you're taking a step back going, those are games, even if you're not favored, those games look a lot more winnable than they did when you first got the schedule and you were getting ready to kick into the season. Now I'll give you the flip side. You got to go to Nashville. Vanderbilt's they're better than you thought they were going to be.
Well, I spent about 2 weeks thinking they were really good, and then I spent last week thinking they were bad. Now I spent this week again thinking they're kind of good. I don't know what to make of them.
Well, it feels like you've got to cut the head off the snake, which is Diego Pavia, their quarterback.
Yes.
If you can throttle Pavia down, that will affect the entire football team. When Pavia's playing well, all of a sudden Vanderbilt doesn't suck. So you got to do something to Diego. Maybe he'll get caught, urinating on an opponent's emblem again, and you'll get suspended for the South Carolina game.
It can happen once.
If you don't know what we're talking about, Google. Google's your friend. Google's your friend on Diego Pavia. Absolutely. All right, so Carolina calls this week will not be Shane Beamer and Todd Ellis. It will be Derek Scott and Lamont Paris. South Carolina basketball practice is getting underway. I think Gunner told me today was the first day of practice.
That is correct. First game, November 4th. It's a little over a month away.
So Lamont Paris and Derek Scott, Carolina calls this Wednesday at 6 p.m. You can hear it right here on the game in Columbia at 107.5 and in Myrtle Beach at 100.3. Shane Beamer, what did he have to say about the W over Akron? We will jump into Shane's thoughts next. You'll hear Shane's thoughts next on the halftime show. Terry Ford Tyler had a Reaction Monday here on the game. Halftime show reaction Monday here on The Game. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. Appreciate you hanging out with us, whether you're in Columbia, 107.5 The Game, Florence, 100.5 The Game, Myrtle Beach, 100.3 The Game. Appreciate you. All right, so obviously we are reacting to a nice put your feet up, take a breath, 50-7 win over Akron. Shane Beamer, after the game, obviously a lot of good. There's a little bit of, obviously, things you want to clean up and do better, but tons of good. We'll start off with Robbie Ashford's performance. And here is Shane, cut 16, Tyler. Confidence in Ashford running this offense.
Did I or do I? Oh, yeah, tons of confidence. I mean, he showed that tonight. I was just talking to Steve walking down the hall. I mean, I knew he played well, but holy smokes, 243 yards passing and 133 yards rushing. I mean, that's pretty dang sporty. And did some good things. There's, I'm sure, some plays he'd like to have back for sure, but I thought he prepared the right way and performed really, really well tonight.
I mean, Ashford hit some shots down the field. He made, like we said earlier, he made some good throws, and when he, was off target a bit, the receivers made a nice adjustment to help him out. So that was a good thing. And then Ashford, when you look at, a game, and obviously this is before you adjust for sacks, when you throw for 243, you go 15 of 21, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Then you run 16 times for $133 and average 8 yards a carry. Now, you did have a fumble.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Robbie Ashford, when you walk off the field with 376 total yards, you had a good day.
Hey, I thought Dow Loggins schemed the game right for him. Now, again, when you put him in last week against LSU, the game plan was built around what Sellers is good at, and Sellers is a little bit of a better thrower than Ashford, so he was put in some more uncomfortable situations, made some throws down the field, but that's obviously not his strong suit. When you look at his 15 completions on Saturday, 11 of those were made less than 10 yards past the line of scrimmage, so kept everything relatively short, dump off the guys, short routes, those kind of things that kind of plays into his skill set. Did get off some longer throws as well, including that touchdown to Mazio Bennett, went 4 of 6 on throws greater than 20 yards. So, again, and you're taking advantage of a weaker secondary that Akron has, so those numbers probably wouldn't look the same against some of the teams in the SEC. But, like I said, I think Dow Loggins built the game plan perfectly around what Robbie Ashford is good at. We know when it comes to running, he's got that down. The reads that he was making, being able to go around the end, like that was perfect. And then you add in a good game plan for the pass game, it ended up being a really good night for him.
Yeah, Ashford, like you said, he only threw 7 balls over 10 yards. Hit 4 of them, 4 or 6 over 20. They started the game off doing things he was comfortable with. Some throws right around the line of scrimmage, use his legs, get a sweat worked up, so to speak. And then when Ashford hit the ball down the field, I think Larverdane was the first deep one, I believe, or was it Bennett who had the first catch over 20? But whoever had that first catch over 20, you could see it was like, all right, I got this, man.
Well, confidence.
Let's go play.
Right.
And I think that was built up because you had him do things in that first drive on the script that really lead to his skill set. So nice job by Dow and the staff. And obviously, Robbie Ashford played really well. And again, we know, say it again, it's Akron. We get it. But still, there's a lot of open receivers, a lot of guys to choose from, and Ashford made some plays, and the receivers made some plays. All right, here's Shane also, the running backs. This was something else. We saw a lot of Rocket Sanders this year because, well, he's Rocket Sanders. We get it. But what you got to see on Saturday wasn't just Rocket Sanders, because Sanders got hurt early and seems like he's going to be okay, we hope. Then you got to see a Juwan Howe, Matthew Fuller, obviously a lot of Oscar Attaway. So here's Shane talking about the running backs, cut 14.
Well, we wanted going into this game, regardless of the score, close game, tight game, blowout, whatever it might be, we wanted to get those young backs in, Fuller and Howe both, just to get them rolling. And we were able to get them in, and I thought they did some really nice things. I think both those guys, Todd, have a chance to be big-time running backs for us. And we've got to continue to increase their reps because they've got a little juice to them. And they're young and they're learning, but I'm really excited about their ability and potential and future here at Carolina.
I mean, they both had their moments, but Hal with the run around the right side with that 23-yard touchdown run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think his first run, it wasn't like anything wow special, but he made a nice little jump cut at the line of scrimmage to pick up positive yards, and you're like, huh, Okay, then. And then, of course, he had his touchdown run. And both Howell and Fuller, you could see why the staff would be so excited about those guys' future. We've talked a ton about, I take that back. We haven't talked a ton about it. We occasionally through the offseason said, Howell's interesting. You saw the numbers he put up at South Carolina State. I mean, big runs, yards per carry. He had some games where it was like, chase. And again, we understand that's a whole different level. But you want to see what is there physically and from a technical standpoint to play the position that maybe could lead him to making that transition. You saw a little bit of stuff with him on Saturday night.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, you got Rocket, you got Attaway as your number 2 guy. And I get it. The transfer portal allows the opportunity for people to go anywhere at any time. But if you can hang on to a Jawarn Howell, Matthew Fuller, DJ Braswell, who didn't get to play on Saturday, that's kind of your next wave of running backs when you do move on from Rocket and Attaway and Juju McDowell. That's kind of a glimpse at your future at that spot.
I was going to bring that up. Isn't it interesting that Braswell got no run?
Yeah, I don't know. Not to my knowledge, he was injured or anything like that. But and maybe he got on the field for some snaps, but he didn't get any carries.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing him in the game. I don't. He didn't get any carries. I didn't see his name around any snap counts, but maybe he did and we just missed it. But he did not get a carry in the football game, which I thought was interesting. So running back room feels good. The depth, wide receivers stepped up, made plays. Robbie Ashford showing, if nothing else, in a backup capacity, starting a football game with a game plan built around what he can do. And again, we know it was Akron, but still, it makes you feel better than you did the week before. And I know that it is different going into a game after the starter gets hurt compared to having everything, the game plan built for you and getting a week to be the starter in preparation. It's a totally different ballgame. But for a guy that's completed around 50% of his passes in his career, he did all right on Saturday night.
Yeah.
He really did. Speaking of coaches talking, Joe Moorhead, his opening statement, and read this right out of Gamecock Central. Joe Moorhead. Obviously, today was our third money game against a very quality Power 5 opponent. My man has no problem talking about money games. Zero.
He's been on the other side of this at Penn State and Mississippi State. He knows what these games are.
And then he continues, former Secretary of State Colin Powell once said, a lack of precision is dangerous when the margin of error is small. When you're playing a team that's this talented and well-coached and kind of getting fired on all cylinders in all three phases, you can't make a ton of mistakes. We didn't coach well enough. We didn't execute well enough. I thought the kids played hard, and I thought the effort was there. Here we go again. But when you're starting to see the cumulative result of playing three teams that are probably going to end up the year in the top 25 on Sunday. So basically, again, Joe's going, look, we're getting you paid, but we're wearing down a bit because we played three of these now.
They've made about $4 million collectively in these first 4 weeks of the season. I imagine they had to pay Colgate something. I don't know, maybe $500K or somewhere around those lines. But they've made a nice little profit in the first month of the year.
They've earned enough money to get some pretty nice saddles for the equestrian team.
I'm curious, how much are saddles?
Yeah, check. See how much a saddle cost. That is interesting. We'll find out how much. And how big's an equestrian team?
How high end do you want your saddle to be? I guess is the question.
It depends on how serious Akron takes equestrian.
I'm seeing some as cheap as a couple hundred, some as expensive as a couple thousand.
How about we go in the middle?
All right.
Let's go $1,000.
Sure. Let's go $1,000.
$1,000 a saddle.
So, I don't know how big your equestrian roster is.
10? I don't know.
Sure. So,
I got no clue.
At worst, $4,000.
So you did a pretty nice job for the equestrian crew. You know what? Making that much money, you can afford the $2,000 saddles.
I guess.
Go ahead. Go get them, equestrian team. Go get those $2,000 saddles. Anyways, Joe Moorhead, man. I love the honesty. I really do. I love it.
Too.
Very nice. All right. How about some player comments after the game? We'll get some Robbie Ashford, his comfort throwing the ball coming up next as we are rolling through a Reaction Monday here on the game. Sips and sounds. Unlimited sampling, over 40 brands of local and national craft beers, wines, seltzers, and spirits. Live performances by Ken and Drew of Sister Hazel and Dazer and the Donovan Twins as well this Saturday. Now, you can also get tickets, Sweet Deals. You just go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals. Tickets are only $30.
I don't see an equestrian team for Akron. I don't think they have one.
Joe lied to us.
On their web athletic website, there is no equestrian team.
Joe lied to us.
Who are we buying saddles for?
Maybe Joe is an equestrian fan. Maybe he's got a little farm, maybe a little stable, maybe the daughter.
Maybe
does
that's
equestrian.
Maybe that's why the team isn't good, because he's spending too much time trying to start the equestrian team.
Well, the way it's going, he might be the coach of the equestrian team.
Maybe so.
Just saying. Get back here some Robbie Ashford, what he thought about his performance on Saturday. It is Reaction Monday on the halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, appreciate you hanging. We go to 3 on the game. Reaction Monday to a 57 win over Akron, South Carolina, 3-1. First time since 2017, if my memory serves me. This team has started 3-1. Could be 4-0. I know. I get it. I understand. Because, look, if you start 3-1 and the game you lost, you truly, thought you got beat. You're going 3-1's great.
Oh, yeah.
But then you're sitting around 3-1 going, you know what?
Well,
could be 4-0.
Again, you tell anybody you're 3-1 back in July, and I'll take it. I don't care. I don't care what that LSU game looked like. Again, the context of losing by 3 and the way that you lost sucks, obviously, but all the goals still in front of you. And as we've been looking at, everybody's putting you in bowls now as far as projections, so they think you're going to get to at least 6 wins. And again, Oklahoma looks like a better game. A&M. Don't know about Missouri, Vanderbilt, what they're going to be like. There's a path to 6, maybe 7 wins here.
Now, all of a sudden, you feel like, okay, the only games that you, no chance, you feel like going to Bama, you got very little chance. I shouldn't say no chance, because South Florida hung with Bama for 3.5 quarters.
That's my thing. If Alabama can make a lot of mistakes like they did through the first 50 minutes of that South Florida game, you have a chance in that game. So it's never 0.
No.
It's an uphill battle, obviously. Not many people go into Tuscaloosa and win for a reason. Ole Miss coming here, I do like the fact that you have that game at home. That's worth a couple points either way.
Who is Ole Miss beating?
Exactly. We don't know everything about Ole Miss. They play Kentucky this weekend, where we'll get the best gauge of how good they are. And again, that's a Kentucky team that took Georgia to the limit, the other weekend. So we'll learn a lot about them this weekend. They're good. We know they're talented. Obviously killed it in the transfer portal. Got a lot of good, recruits these past couple of years. So that's going to be an uphill battle too. But even if you drop those 2 games, even if you're 3-3 halfway through the month of October, you still have plenty of wins possibly ahead of you.
And that's the thing. All of a sudden, you sit back and look at the schedule, and you're not feeling as you did about a month and a half ago. I mean, Ole Miss, they clock Furman.
Oh, what a shock.
Middle Tennessee State. Smack Wake around. And then dismantle Georgia Southern. That's what they've done so
Kind
far.
of disappointed they let Southern score 13, to be honest with you. What's going on?
I know. That's a red flag. And now they will play Kentucky in Oxford. So.
You know, it's funny. We spent the first. We obviously spent all the offseason talking about not knowing everything about this team, and then we play Old Dominion. It's like, oh well, we still don't know everything, but we got some concerns. What are you saying if you're in Oxford right now doing this job? You've played four slappies to start your season. What do you know about that team?
Nothing.
Other than the fact, hey, we're talented. We got guys that are going to play at the next level, but what have you actually learned about your team through 4 weeks?
You've learned they can blow out the slappies.
Which is what you're supposed to do.
Right. And, Kentucky obviously will be the best team they've played all year. That game is in Oxford, and Kentucky showed us that there's some serious offensive questions with that offensive line and that quarterback. And look, Ole Miss has got a pass rush that is a little bit better than what South Carolina brings. And South Carolina, look, they're the top 2 pass rushes in the country. So the idea that a team that struggled in protection against South Carolina, I'm guessing is going to struggle in protection against Ole Miss. So what kind of gauge do you get off of Kentucky? I don't know. Obviously, it's the best defense that Ole Miss offense will face all year. But, what Kentucky team shows up? The one that got boat raced by South Carolina at home, or the one that scared the bejesus out of Georgia?
By the way, it's a different Kentucky when you go on the road sometimes, too. So that playing on the road, or playing at home against the number 1 team, that benefits them more than going on the road to face a top 10, top 5 Ole Miss team this weekend.
So basically, you're 3-1. You should feel good as you move forward in a schedule that maybe doesn't intimidate you like it did in August. So that's all good. All right, Robbie Ashford, speaking with the media post-game, got 24, Tyler. Here's Robbie Ashford talking about his comfort in throwing the football Saturday night.
Yeah, I felt more comfortable, just being able to get all those reps in practice and see what they like to run and just, like I said, film study, knowing what they like to come out in. And so we just got a combination of that, and then you got the combination with our receivers and how they can get open, man. It's just a recipe for success. And they definitely went and made some plays for me, too. And but, it just felt good to get back out there, people can say whatever they want to. Oh, he played against Akron or whatever. It's like, man, I went out there and I was able to throw the ball around. That's kind of what everybody wanted to see, and I was just happy to go out there and do that. And just at the end of the day, I was happy to go out there and get a win with my guys. That's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, we're 3-1, and we got a lot to build off on. But yeah, for me, just being in that pocket, I felt a lot more comfortable, and the game was just slowing down for me as we progressed. And it's just how can I build off of it? Whatever my role is, I'm gonna work to my hardest and just keep working.
Yeah, I mean, you should feel good if you're Robbie Ashford. We say this all the time, Tyler. Confidence is confidence.
Yep.
If you can go out there in any sport against any opponent, doesn't matter how great or terrible they are, and you play really well, you walk off of the field, the court, the diamond, skate off the rink, come off the pitch, you feel good about you. Because you're like, I did things really well, and I believe I can translate that against even better competition because I repeated success, and it doesn't matter who they were.
Yeah,
I was good.
It's positive reps.
Yes.
You did your job in a game situation, regardless of who the opponent is and how good or bad they are, and statistics and all that kind of stuff. You went out there and you walked off the field feeling confident that you did your job and you did it well.
All right, also, as we'll knock off a couple other, let's get one more in here, Tyler. Cut 28, we get Demetrius Knight talking about not letting that LSU loss affect this game against Akron. Basically, at some point, you got to flush it and you got to move forward. You don't want the LSU loss to cause you more issues moving forward. Here's Knight.
Yeah, it's just basically what I said earlier, coming in on Sunday knowing that we had a bad taste in our mouth, knowing that, fans and people online are going to be like, oh, the refs. At the end of the day, it's us. If we tackle better, we're never put in that situation. If offense, gets yards here, we're never in that situation. But, we're up. It's always us. It's always on us. It's never them. That's the whole premise of what this program is built on. It's never them. It's always us. You kind of saw a little bit of that towards, right before the half, us hurting ourselves. That's when we give teams life. So, yeah, we just got to continue to remove ourselves from the equation, continue to keep playing to the standard. And coming back on Sunday like we did, everyone, you could feel it in the air, like, okay, we don't want to feel like this again. So everybody's going to get to work, and on Sunday, that's what we did. We're going to do the same thing tomorrow.
That's how you handle your business.
There you go.
There it is right there. Us. At the end of the day, it's always what can we do to avoid all of that ridiculousness. Knight hit it. 17 missed tackles. Undisciplined moments that had nothing to do with judgment calls. If you handle your business, all that mess doesn't matter, even though it was a mess.
Yeah.
You need to be responsible for what you can control and what you can handle. That was the perfect answer. The perfect answer by Demetrius Knight. Is he 23?
Yeah, he's got a wife, kids, something like that.
He's got a wife, kids.
He's a mature guy.
Any part of the Water Buffalo Lodge?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, with Fred and Barney.
Yeah.
He's a man, and a man takes responsibility, and you step up, and that's why you need leadership in the room. You need guys to look around, and while everybody's screaming about the refs, on the outside, in the inside of that room, you got to say, guys, we don't care. Because you know what? We put ourselves in a position to let those dudes affect the football game. We cannot do that again. Now, again, there still were too many penalties on Saturday against Akron. You still got to clean up. Was it better? Sure. But you still got to tick it up a notch as well in cleaning up that stuff. But defensively, Akron had one drive. And if Judge Collier doesn't mistime his jump or misread the throw, Akron still might not have scored. You might have got your donuts.
Yeah, there was one other. I think it was Swain in coverage that would have been a big play if it wasn't an overthrow. So a couple little lapses in coverage there, but for the most part, solid job.
You also took advantage of the fact that, the Akron quarterback situation isn't that good.
Right.
So, all right. We'll have tickets in about an hour. Like an hour from now, matter of fact, we'll have tickets. South Carolina, Ole Miss. We're going to get our tickets started early, Tyler. South Carolina, Ole Miss. An hour from now, we'll give away tickets, so be ready for that. An hour from now, tickets for South Carolina and Ole Miss, of course, always sponsor when we give away Carolina tickets by Carolina Honda Powerhouse. Text of the hour from Firehouse Subs, 803-404-6100. That's coming up next. The Halftime Show Reaction Monday. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game. Halftime show here on The Game. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, time for our Firehouse Subtext of the hour. What do you got there, my man?
Mike weighs in and says, what's going on with Nick Harbor as a 5-star and now in his sophomore year is going to be considered a bust? We've had this conversation a lot leading into the season. He obviously spent a lot of the offseason away from the team and not doing football-related things, so there was going to be an acclimation period. But even in the times we've seen him this year, I won't lie, I wanted to see a little bit more. What that means for the rest of the year and going forward, I don't know. But I can understand people's frustration at this point that he hasn't popped a little bit more than maybe remember he already has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I get it. This is the flip side of the 5-star love.
Yeah.
Like Dylan Stewart's a 5-star kid. Just a 5-star football player.
Yeah, he looks
rusher.
like it. Looks like
a 10-star, right? Yeah. Remember, Nick Harbor was a 5-star athlete. Really, that was his position, was athlete in a lot of these services. He basically, crazy athleticism, you just got to be able to harness it for football. And so far, it hasn't been harnessed. The other part, to be fair, so you take a guy that's really more of an athlete than a football player to begin with freakish skills, right? Speed, all sorts of stuff. But then he's now going to play a position in college that he's never played before. So you got to add that into this mix. Now, if Harbor was just playing off the edge as a rusher, or if he was playing tight end, remember he played those positions in high school, but he was still looked at as raw at those spots, but at least those are places that he had reps. He didn't have reps at wide receiver before he got to college, or meaningful reps. So he's learning a new position. He misses the spring because of track. And so, yes, his development is just not going to be as fast as people want it to be. And I'll be fair. If he does develop, look, there are a lot of track guys who just couldn't translate that track skill to football. Now, could Harbor end up making that jump? Sure. A long way to go. Early in his second year. By the end of this year, he might be making plays and looking much more instinctive and being a producer at the wide receiver position. Yes, absolutely, it could happen. But it's just a slow process because he's not there in the spring, and he hasn't, because of track, he's got two ladies.
Yeah.
And because of that, he's not devoting full time to one. And I get fans, I do, when you come in with all the hype of a 5-star and you got blazing speed and all that stuff. But we've been saying since he signed that letter of intent, we said, remember, he's never played the position before. So we got to keep that in mind, even though, look, I totally get the frustration or the WTF, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, he's learning to play a new position, and he's not giving it 100% of his time because, look, one of the main reasons he's at South Carolina, because they looked at him and said, look, we're not just telling you this. Seriously, you can run track, and you can take it serious because we know you mean it. You want to be an Olympic athlete. You want to be an Olympic sprinter. And whatever your distance ends up being, you want to be in the Olympic Games. And we're not just saying this to get you on campus. You go do track. So all this comes into play when we sit back and go, what's up with Harbor? Well, that's kind of what's up with Harbor.
Yeah, and I get the frustration. I call it shiny object syndrome when you have somebody that is so highly touted and his announcement was on ESPN and all this kind of stuff. You want to see results, and again, when you see him play wide receiver, he's still having trouble making some catches, and he is making catches on some of the ones that are thrown his way, but not to the level that you want him to. And the one game where he didn't drag his toe and all that kind of stuff, like he's still coming along, which is, you hate that, but that's just the process that we're having to deal with.
Yeah, and and hopefully, like I said, he will continue to develop in his time, and then at some point it all pops, and he's making plays, and you're like, wow, look at this guy. So we'll see, and but I know patience stinks, especially in our world today. Nobody's got patience for anything. But Nick Harbor's going to need patience as he develops as a football player. You watch him. Instincts or something that have to develop with him at this point at wide receiver. All right, football in the 1 o'clock hour coming up on a Reaction Monday halftime show on the game. get to see my lack of rhythm on the YouTube channel. I have no rhythm. Zero. Negative rhythm. It's kind of sad. Just nothing. Nothing. Girlfriend is very impressed with my overall lack of rhythm.
Oh, I'm sure.
She's like, you're a beat off of everything.
Or you just one beat ahead.
Yeah. Because I really don't care, I think. It's just I don't care. Like I used to, for fun, like when I was a kid, we go to these high school dances. I just jumped around like I was having a seizure just for fun to make people laugh. I just didn't care. Never cared about being a dancer.
Sure.
Ever. But the girlfriend, when she dances. I mean, she's dancing. And it was like,
You just flail yourself around.
I can't do the seizure dance with her when she's like seriously dancing.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to seriously dance because I never did. So that's all new to me. And over these 20 years,
And you just stop caring.
yeah, I just don't care. She knows that.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, you've been with her for a long time. You don't have to impress her.
No, believe me, I haven't brushed my teeth in 5 years. I don't care. Anyway, all right, football in the 1 o'clock hour. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Obviously, front and center was a 50-7 curb stomping of Akron by South Carolina at Williams-Brice. Shane Beamer, one of the good things that came out of this game for me watching this football team was Gage Larvadain started at wide receiver and made a couple of plays, drew a pass interference. If you can get Larvadain going and Larvadain can stay healthy, and he's on the field with Jared Brown if he can stay healthy, and Mazeo Bennett, all of a sudden you're like, okay. We see some possibilities moving forward with the stars at wide receiver. So here's Shane Beamer talking about Gage Larvadain and the rest of the receiving crew from Saturday.
Yeah, I think those guys just continue to work. We started Gage tonight. Just so, there's great competition in that receiver room, and that's what I've been talking to you guys about since August, and it's really true. We felt like Gage had a better week of practice, so we started him tonight. And he hasn't been 100% healthy, and that's part of the thing holding him back. But all those guys, they just work, and Nick did some nice things tonight, and all those guys. But we're still a work in progress at that receiver position. There's a lot to clean up there, like at every position. But we've got guys that can continue to make one-on-one plays and make competitive catches, and it was nice to see them. I think they continue to grow in confidence and just continue to get better.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a work in progress, and it seems to be getting better. Again, it was Akron. You don't want to make too much out of anything, but guys were open a lot. And only one drop, and that was Campbell, who was running before he caught it.
Yep.
And that was it. So, good day overall for the receivers. You got breaking news from the SEC offices?
Yes. Next Saturday's game at home against Ole Miss will be kicking off at 3:30, televised on ESPN.
There you go. Get the ESPN 3:30 window.
That's
cool.
right. I know many people were hoping for a night game. I was kind of hoping for a night game myself, but mid-afternoon, nothing wrong with that.
That's not bad. You get the main ESPN window. That's good. You'll take that. And most likely you get undefeated Ole Miss against one-loss South Carolina.
Yes, or a very shocked Ole Miss coming off of a loss to Kentucky.
Yeah, could you see that? That would be so SEC at this point, wouldn't it?
Listen, this entire first month of the college football season, I said this when the season started, I had a sneaking suspicion we were going to be in for like an 07-esque type of chaotic year.
Which would be good.
Because
I like that.
Week to week, there's a lot of teams I don't know enough about. Because they looked good this week, they sucked this week, and they looked good the week after that. Like, it's so topsy-turvy. If Kentucky went into Oxford and beat Ole Miss, I'm not going to sit here and say I'd be completely shocked by it.
No, because, look, the transfer portal has flipped this thing upside down in so many ways. Because you see these teams now, and you really, truly don't know so many things. You just don't. I mean, you'll think, wow, that team added some guys in the portal. They're going to be really good. And they go, because the chemistry just doesn't work.
Look at Florida State.
Great example. 2 straight years of double-digit wins. Last year should have played in the college football playoff. And this year, you barely escaped 0-4.
They successfully beat Cal in something that legally shouldn't be considered a football game because of how ugly it was.
That thing was it made your eyes burn.
They might torture prisoners with that.
Put it this way: if like if this was the old Cold War days and you caught a spy from like the Soviet Union or the U.S., if you locked them in a room and forced them to watch that game,
it's either talk or you get to watch DJU for 3 hours.
I'll tell you anything. Turn this game off, please. I'll give you all the secrets. This is awful. So you just don't know in the portal now. Like we look at these teams, you go, well, I think this. I think it's truly the think system of looking at teams now. Is you just really don't know because how's the chemistry going to be? And sometimes we'll see teams pop like that Michigan State team a few years ago with Mel Tucker. Didn't see that coming. Of course, then they fell back to earth hard. But you just don't know. And it truly feels like a year-to-year situation, except for the cream of the cream who are still pulling 5 stars and still building the old-fashioned way and just tweaking with the portal. You really don't know. And like Missouri, double-digit win season last year. Yeah, great. Your DC's gone, went to LSU. You lost some other pieces off of the defense to the NFL. How are you going to shake it out this year with some portal additions and some guys stepping up? You don't know. You just don't. I mean, things are so fluid now that nothing should truly surprise you. Look, Kentucky's a great example. South Carolina comes in to Kroger Field and bounces their head off a bench for 4 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
That game wasn't even as close as the score. It was such a butt whooping. Then the next week, here comes mighty Georgia, and Kentucky loses 13-12. You thought it was going to be 113-12, Georgia.
Oh, for sure.
After what you saw South Carolina do to Kentucky.
If Stoops doesn't play conservative and punt with 3 minutes to go, they might win that game.
He stooped
from midfield.
It's what he does. He's still playing football against 1984. So you just don't know. So if Kentucky would go into Oxford against an Ole Miss team that has played no one all year, and Kentucky has one of those days where their defense is always solid. So if their defense plays out of their mind, gets a couple turnovers, Kentucky gets some short field scores, all of a sudden confidence is rising here and guys are scrambling on the Ole Miss. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? So it's just been a whacked out year. A whacked out year. All right, so Shane Beamer talking about that wide receiver room. Everybody's growing, everybody's getting better, and hopefully this momentum will continue forward because you have to score points to beat Ole Miss. You have to score points to beat Bama. You're not going to get into a 13-12 rock fight with either one of those teams. You're just not.
Probably not.
Also, there was a world of college football. We're going to open up and start looking at the SEC, the top 25, the NFL here, football in the 1 o'clock hour here on the halftime show. All right, let's get to cut 34, Tyler. Tennessee rolled into Norman. Much was made, justifiably so, about Josh Heupel's return. And we talked about here Tennessee should win easy. It didn't quite go by the script you would expect Tennessee to win easy by, but we did say Oklahoma, 5 new stars on the offensive line, unproven young quarterback. Tennessee's defense is good. But you didn't really feel like this is the way it was going to play itself out, even though we all thought, I shouldn't say we all, on this show, we both thought Tennessee would win. Hit it.
Trying to get one more play squeezed into this first quarter. The Amaliava off the play fake right down the seam, and it's caught by Dante Thornton. A foot race. They won't catch him. 66 to the house.
Yeah, our boy Nico hit a shot down the field or two. But Tennessee only threw it 21 times. They ran it 52 and just choke slammed Oklahoma. And if you're a Tennessee football fan, yes, you crazies, what makes you feel good about that game is you really won that game with your defense.
Yeah.
Your defense throttled Oklahoma right from the get-go.
And that's the thing, the first couple of years under Heupel, the offense, explosive a couple of years ago under Hendon Hooker, obviously kind of hit or miss last year with Joe Milton, but you never had that, dominant, truly championship level defense. Now they got it. I mean, James Pierce is a dude coming off the edge. They have a defense that can go up against quite literally anyone right now. And you saw that on display against Oklahoma on Saturday, to the point where now there's a quarterback debate in Norman once again.
Which is good for business if you're South Carolina when you have to go into Norman. Michael Hawkins took over. Jackson Arnold, God love him, he was a mess against Tennessee. I mean, poor throw for the interception. I don't know what he was doing on that lateral. It ended up being, Tennessee gets the football, and that's when he got benched.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's kind of been up and down this entire season. And remember, they basically told Dylan Gabriel to take a hike at the end of last year. Like, hey, bud, I know you got an extra year of eligibility. Thanks for all you've done, but we got our future here. Go find somewhere else to play. And that's why he's at Oregon, a national championship level contending team. And Arnold just hasn't been it. And that's been the conversation coming away from just about every game so far this season. Through the first 3 weeks when they were winning, it's like, man, this offense just doesn't look great. Yes, he's not getting the protection that he needs up front, but still, when you expect that highly touted guy to make plays, he's just not making the plays. And got to the point on Saturday, they're like, let's try somebody else here.
You know who's happy right now? Dylan Gabriel, because he's not playing behind that offensive line at Oklahoma.
Yeah, for sure.
They did Dylan Gabriel a favor. I think the offensive line is so bad that, a young quarterback with very little experience added to an offensive line with issues. I mean, even a veteran quarterback is going to take a whooping behind that offensive line.
It's a bad combination.
But a veteran quarterback can probably, in a more composed manner, be able to make a few more plays, even with the offensive line. We watched Spencer Rattler last year behind a terrible offensive line. Rattler found a way to rise above it at times, right? But a young quarterback, totally inexperienced, is really having his issues. Remember, in the bowl game last year, he threw, 3 picks?
Right.
So, I mean, Oklahoma, and then Brent Venables, whenever I hear a defensive-minded head coach start saying, well, you know what, we got to run the ball, and we got to help out our defense, and we got to control the time of possession. Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, that's trouble. Now you're playing football in 1977.
Yeah, no, you're going to have a defense in Oklahoma that can, compete with any offense, that's for sure. But if you're only able to put up, 14, 17 points a game, good luck.
Barely scored points against Houston.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying the Texans.
Well, and Houston had gotten blown out by UNLV the week before.
Right. So, issues in Norman. You got to feel good in Knoxville as the Volunteers continue undefeated. They move forward. Look, the testing is coming.
It is.
I mean,
this was step one, and going on the road, your first start in the SEC on the road is Nico. Like, that's tough, but Alabama, Georgia, you got some challenges coming down the pipe.
Yeah, you got to make another roadie off to Fayetteville, which will be interesting. You got Bama at home. You got Georgia on the road. And you got UTEP, baby.
Watch out for the Miners, man.
Don't disrespect the Miners. All right, football. The 1 o'clock hour will continue our way through. As we continue, take a look at the SEC, the chaos that was Chapel Hill, and some other stuff in the top 25, and also we'll riff off to the NFL as well. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, it's not a football Friday, it's a Reaction Monday as we go till 3 here on The Game. All right, so I had a buddy of mine needed a refrigerator. Decided to make a phone call to the Nest in the Visto and Gadsden, 803-978-2025. Basically went over it with the appliance expert, Graham. So this is what I'm looking for. This is kind of what I want to spend. My buddy went in there, walked around the phenomenal showroom with tons of appliances, all different types of prices and different kinds of brands. And in no time, walked out with a refrigerator. Well, he didn't carry it out, but that would have been heavy and painful. But he made a decision, got his refrigerator, boom, 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 that simple, that easy. Why? You're dealing with experts who have been doing this for over 70 years at the Nest, whether it's appliances, whether it's fixtures, lighting, tubs, whatever. Again, 803-978-2025. Call the Nest. Set up your appointment. Tell them your budget and your goals and your dreams. They will make it happen for you at the Nest in the Vista. A Reaction Monday here on the Halftime Show on The Game, 107.5 The Game in Columbia, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, 100.5 The Game in Florence. Thank you for hanging out with us. Also, we are on The Game TV, our YouTube channel, and you can pick us up on the Game app. Stream us on your phone anywhere on Earth. All right, so we've talked a ton about Carolina. We want to continue to head down that road with a nice, easy 50-7 win. This one real quick, Tyler, from Shane. After the game, cut 9, Shane talking about the atmosphere and also the end of the half, which was a little clunky in that easy 50-7 victory. Here is Shane talking about the atmosphere and also the end of the first half.
Thanks to our fans. thanks to our fans, it was a great environment out there tonight. You know, I told a lot of recruits before the game that it'll say so much about our fan base that we had a unbelievable, epic atmosphere last week at 12 noon, had a tough loss, but here we go the following week with a non-conference game, and it's still packed and rocking. So thanks so much to them. They were amazing tonight and helped us. And then just really proud of our team. Obviously, that was a tough day, tough game a week ago today, and was not an easy week getting over that one, but I thought our guys came right back to work and responded the right way and had a good week of practice and liked the way we performed tonight. I really good overall the entire night. You know, we got a lot to clean up, don't get me wrong, but probably the most disappointing thing for me was just the last 2 minutes of the first half, and I apologize to Chet. I think I was short with him on the halftime interview.
Great radio, though.
Yeah, all right, I don't know if I can say PISSED on live radio, so I apologize if I made anybody mad, but I didn't like the thing that we talked to our players about all week was just we don't play to a scoreboard, we're not letting up, and we're just playing and competing. And I thought we got a little sloppy there at the end of the first half. It's 22-0. We didn't relax or let up, but to let them score on a deep ball, then we got a 2-minute drive going, and we got a 4th and 1, and we fumbled a quarterback center exchange. That was a disappointing way to finish the half, but really fired up about the way we responded in the second half to come out of the locker room and outscore them 28-0 in the second half. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You know what I love about Shane? He'll have those emotional moments or outbursts. He'll go, I'm really sorry. I just want to apologize. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, his retrospect on things is interesting sometimes, but he wears his emotions on his sleeve. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
He's not stoic, that's for sure. When you look at the context, like, all right, Old Dominion goes down the field. They have that explosive play where Collier misjudges the jump on the ball and they score a touchdown. All right, now it's 22-7. Okay, South Carolina's driving down the field and looking like they're going to get maybe like a field goal at worst for halftime, and you fumble the ball. Well, then Akron, is getting the ball to start the second half. We're talking about in the press box. This had the potential to go really bad really fast.
Yeah.
Where suddenly you're in an 8-point game in the beginning of the third quarter. It didn't go that way, but I can understand the frustration going into the locker room.
Because you've dominated the first half. You're up 22-0. You give up the touchdown on the deep ball. You're right. I mean, again, Judge Collier doesn't mistime the jump or kind of misread the throw. Akron's most likely not scoring, but they do. Then, instead of getting 3 points, now you fumble. Akron gets the ball back. What if they hit another deep ball on you? Then they get the ball back to start the second half, and here we go again. So I understand it. I do. I get it.
That was a fun halftime speech.
But to their credit, they came out and continued to boat race Akron, which is what you do to a team like Akron. You just go out there and you keep kicking them.
Yeah, when you have a team like that knows they're facing an uphill battle in one of these games, you got to crush their spirit. And when you give them that little inkling of, hey, maybe we got something here with a touchdown and getting that turnover, you just got to come out and smash them as soon as the third quarter begins. And, you force them into a punt, start the third quarter, and I think Carolina punted on their next drive. But then you just started scoring at will.
Well, Joe Moorhead was already defeated before this thing even started. Gotta love the Akron coach. Well, another money game. Here we go. You see Moorhead at halftime. Fellas, it's a money game, right? Come on, guys. Gear it down a little bit.
Right.
But anyway, so that was Shane talking about the end of the first half and also, and again, the fans, I looked around and I was like, wow, it's a pretty good crowd for Akron. So thumbs up. Thumbs up to the fan base for representing. All right, now as we open it up here to the ACC, I don't know what happened to North Carolina on Saturday. Mack Brown, the head coach, doesn't know what happened to North Carolina on Saturday. Now, Mack Brown talked today, and we'll get to it in a second, but here's Mack Brown on Saturday after you gained over 600 total yards. You scored 50 points, and you lost by 20. Now, oh, wow, Tara, Clemson come in there? No. Okay. Were they playing like Ohio State or Georgia? No. Who scored 70? James Madison.
The president?
Yes, by himself with his wig on. With Dolly. James and Dolly together. Also throw a block punt in there with 5 North Carolina turnovers, and you get the other team popping a 70 burger on you in your house, and you lose despite scoring 50. Mack Brown has always been known to take losses very difficult.
Yep.
Here's Mack Brown postgame.
Embarrassing day, shocking day. You shouldn't be at North Carolina and lose to a group of 5 team, period. There are no excuses. Our defense, who played great all spring, all preseason, and played outstanding for the first 3 games, looked awful today. We had communication problems. We had missed tackles. We had guys wide open for a touchdown. Our special teams, who had been better than the 3 teams we had played the first 3 games, had an onside kick that hit us in the chest and they get for a score. Had a block punt that they get for a score. Jacoby, I thought, played really, really well. He even had an interception for a touchdown right before the half, and Connor came in for 1 play and fumbled the ball, and that ended up being a touchdown. So it can only come back to one person, and that's me.
And that's what you take responsibility because you're the dude in charge. Now, Mack offered to resign in the locker room after the game as players didn't go, yeah, coach, good idea. It's a good idea, coach. No, they did not. They said no. They supported Mack Brown. Mack Brown today, talking to the media, said he apologized to his players about a half hour later by text saying, look, I'm sorry. I don't take these losses very well, fellas.
Yep.
And he said he shouldn't have gone that far down the rabbit hole after the game. But look, I get it. Mack's right. North Carolina, with all the resources, with who you could be in football and who you have been to a certain level with Mack Brown, you should not lose that game at home to that team. Remember, a couple years ago, Tyler, they were in a crazy back and forth with Appalachian State and barely survived.
Yep.
Mack has got them being a winning program again, but they run into this stuff, and that defense at times just doesn't show up.
And that begs the question to me, because a lot of people are drawing comparisons to what happened with Spurrier here, where he just kind of looked around and said, this is going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of time. I don't have time for that. I'm coming to the end of my career anyway. I'm going to go ahead and peace out. When you look at, because like I'm surprised Mack Brown's been around North Carolina as long as he has. I thought, because again, Fedora about ran the program into the ground, it felt like. So you bring in Mack Brown, the champion coach from yesteryear, to get the foundation built up, which he's done a fine job with, but I didn't expect him to be, potentially there until 2027, which his contract runs through. Does he look at this at the end of this year and says, you know what? This is going to take a lot of time. I'm not going to be here that much longer coaching this program anyway. Should I just go ahead and leave now and let whoever the next guy is take over and build whatever he can build? Because, again, Mack Brown's not a long-term play.
Right. No, he's not. And I think it just comes down to, what does Mack Brown want to do? I mean, still sharp, still good on the recruiting trail. How much longer do you want to put yourself through this at age 70, whatever, 73 or whatever Mack Brown is now? Also in the ACC, real quick, Clemson. Wow. 59 on NC State, who decided to take defense off this year. Cade Klubnik, to his credit, hit 4 passes of 25 yards or longer. Clemson ran for almost 300 yards, and offense has showed up the last 2 games for the Tigers after that pathetic showing against Georgia to open the year. So
they're trying to prove a point.
We will see where this ACC is going, because it's interesting. We'll continue on top 25 in NFL. NFL yesterday, some teams blew leads or tried to blow leads. It's weird in the National Football League as well. Football in the 1 o'clock hour on a Reaction Monday here on the Halftime Show on the Game. We're talking football in the 1 o'clock hour on a Reaction Monday here on the game. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, of course, reacting to a 50-7 smackdown the South Carolina gave Akron on Saturday. Not a surprise because Akron, one of the worst teams in FBS. So that's what you do to one of the worst teams. You beat them by 43. So we've been getting into that, and we're going to get some Juju McDowell here soon. Juju's thoughts on where South Carolina is after 3 games. So we got that coming up. And also we're scanning the top 25 in the SEC as well right now in the 1 o'clock hour. Get to the NFL probably in the 2. Coming up, though, at 1:45, we'll give away a couple tickets for South Carolina Ole Miss. Kickoff time is
3:30.
There you go, which means the Gamecocks game day will get underway at
let me do my math. 10:30.
There you go. From the party lot at Sound and Images, sponsored by LexMed Ortho. All right, so the game that was the tightest in the top 10 involved SEC's Missouri. Missouri escaped at home against Vandy, and escaped is the right word. God love Brock Taylor, the kicker for Vanderbilt. If you just watch highlights, you figure this guy stinks.
Mm-hmm.
You saw him miss the kick at the end of regulation to beat Virginia Tech. Of course, Vandy overcame the missed kick and won in overtime over Virginia Tech. Then you saw Saturday where Brock missed 2 kicks, the second in overtime to tie the game, but Brock missed the kick, which means Missouri survived 30-27. Guess what Brock Taylor's numbers are on the season kicking field goals?
Probably not good.
7 of 10, sir.
Oof.
His 3 misses, though.
Been
big
pretty
miss
critical
against Missouri. Two big misses against Missouri and the huge miss against Virginia Tech. So when he misses them, they matter.
It's a big deal.
Yes, they are. And look, Missouri didn't look that great. They get the W. Vandy gave them fits.
Nate Noel looked pretty good.
Well, he was a good back at Appalachian State, correct?
Yes.
Noel's looked good for them. He went for almost 200, $199, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And averaged 8 yards a carry or something. Brady Cook was good. Luther Burden has not really been the factor he was last year because again, teams are like, well, we're not going to let that guy beat us.
Right.
Well, Burden had a couple touchdown catches in the game, but Missouri, once again, they're lucky that they get a W knocked on them.
Missouri keeps getting behind.
Mm-hmm.
This game, the game against Boston College, they keep finding themselves in holes. And I don't know if that's just they're still trying to figure everything out because they haven't played a whole lot of high-level competition up to this point. But that is kind of a dangerous precedent for a team like that to try and continually have to claw themselves out of being behind in games.
Another team trying to figure it out is on the Plains. Arkansas and Auburn was a very weird football game.
It was a game that happened.
They just took turns going, no, you have the ball. No, I insist you take the ball. No. Then Auburn went, hold my beer. Yes, Arkansas, 2 turnovers on the road. That kind of stuff dooms you typically. You average 5.5 yards a pass. That's not good either. But you did run for 183. And more importantly, Auburn, you know what a good host does? A good host is very giving. And Auburn was a great host on Saturday.
Auburn just gives and gives and gives.
Till they just can't give anymore. 5 Tiger turnovers. Hank Brown, 3 picks. Peyton Thorne, 1. Hank Brown basically looked at Peyton Thorne and he goes, you only threw 1? I got you.
Well, it's funny because they benched Peyton Thorne last weekend because he kept throwing interceptions in that awful loss to Cal. All right, we got this Hank Brown guy. Throw him out there. He looked good against New Mexico last weekend, and there was a tinge of hope. There was starting to be a little bit of belief on the Plains that, hey, maybe we've got our quarterback, and he just goes out there and throws 3 picks.
Hank Brown throws 3. Peyton Thorne comes in, actually threw more touchdown passes than interceptions, which is a shocker for Peyton Thorne. After the game, they asked Peyton Thorne what he says to Hank Brown. He just told basically,
get off the phone.
Don't get on your phone.
Delete Twitter. Delete Instagram.
They are going to come after you like nobody's business.
Even if your mom calls, don't answer.
Don't pick it up.
She might have something bad to say too.
Which, some people criticized him for that answer. I was like,
no, dude. For the dude that, here's the thing. We have to remember Peyton Thorne came from Michigan State, where half the people in East Lansing may not be aware there's a Michigan State football team. He went to Auburn, Alabama, where the soul of the city relies on winning and losing Auburn football games, and he looked awful a season ago. I imagine he probably got some nasty messages.
Yeah, probably more this year.
He learned what it means more really means pretty quickly.
And look, that gives you just a little peek into that world, because, again, in a quarterback room, you always hear the dynamic in a quarterback room is a little bit different. And so if you're in that quarterback room and everybody's got a good relationship, your first thought, fair or not, is to the psyche of your buds.
Yes.
So you're saying, dude, stay off your phone. You're not going, well, on that one play where the safety was shading, you might have wanted to look that safety off, and instead of throwing the ball on that route, you should have maybe. No, you're going like this. Stay off your phone, bub.
Yeah, you're not going to like what you see.
It's not going to be pretty. Someone else who should stay off their phone or their burner phone is Hugh Freeze. And Hugh, very frustrated with his quarterbacks and with his offense at Auburn.
Unfortunately, this is what I know, and I know that there's people open, and I know that we're running the football. And we got to find a guy that won't throw it to the other team. And we got to find running backs that hold on to it. That's a huge play there. I mean, we're going in to score. I don't know, what was it, 7-0 then, or so it's 7-7, and our defense gets a stop, and who knows what happens. But the scheme is what most everybody in the country is running some sort of. But you've got to have good play at quarterback for sure to whatever system you're going to choose.
Quick question. Hey, Hugh.
Yeah.
Hugh.
Yes, Terry.
Yeah, thanks. Terry Ford. Quick question, Hugh. Who picked your quarterbacks?
Well, that'd be me.
Okay. Who picked a system of offense for the quarterbacks to run?
That would also be me.
Who took over the offense because the last guy was a scapegoat?
That is also me.
How's it going, Hugh?
Now, great.
You picked the quarterbacks. Matter of fact, you ran off Robbie Ashford because you didn't think he could play.
And
so
I will say this. Do you think they would take Robbie Ashford back after Saturday?
After Saturday?
They might be clamoring for him. I can appreciate the honesty there. And look, Hugh Freeze did take his own accountability in the press conference as well. But, sometimes you got to call a spade a spade. You got sucky quarterbacks. Say you got sucky quarterbacks, because that's exactly what you're dealing with out there in Auburn. You're not going to pull the wool over anyone's eyes that, if we practice real hard this week, we can get this fixed. Like, no, this is a problem that's going to continue to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, look, anybody at this point, Robbie Ashford, Robbie Ray, Robbie Robertson, Robbie Gold, name a Robbie.
Does Bo Nix have any more eligibility?
Yeah, they couldn't wait to run that cat out of Auburn.
Would he come back?
Absolutely. So anyway, tough goings on the Plains. Auburn now 2-2, 0-1 in conference. Let's flip this around really quick. Our buddy Uncle Sam, 3-1. Should be 4-0.
Really should be 4-0. I think that one is going to because their schedule's tough.
I'm looking at it right now. I just went to it.
That loss to Oklahoma State could actually be the deciding factor between whether he keeps or loses his job. Because, all right, maybe you can beat A&M this weekend. You got Tennessee. You got Ole Miss, Texas, Missouri. Like, man, that extra win could have gone a long way.
Well, let's say you play. If you're 4-0, you got Mississippi State. It's in Starkville, but they just lost their starting quarterback, and you got Louisiana Tech. So there's your two. If you would have had 4, there's your 2,
bowl game.
And Sam's bowling. Now you got to beat A&M, because the thought is you're not going to beat Tennessee at home. You're not going to beat LSU. You're not going to beat Ole Miss. You're not going to beat Texas. So, Uncle Sam, you really should have pocketed that Oklahoma State game. Firehouse Sub Text the hour 803-404-6100 is football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on a Reaction Monday, right here on the Halftime Show on the Game. All right, run to the phone right now. Caller number 5 gets tickets for Carolina Ole Miss a week from this Saturday. 3:30 kick from Williams-Brice a week again from this Saturday. Caller number 5, 803-404-6100. We'll snag some tickets for that football game, which obviously is going to be sold out. So hit us up right now. Caller number 5 gets those tickets from Carolina Honda Powerhouse here on the game. All right, so we'll get to our Firehouse Sub Text the Hour here in just a minute. Once Tyler snags our winner, then we'll get to our Text of the Hour. But, you know, when you look back at Saturday, and we were talking about the SEC for a minute, we discussed the issues that there were at Auburn with the quarterback room and with Missouri barely surviving. Look, Vanderbilt, you can beat Vanderbilt. Obviously, they got smacked by a Group of 5 team in their 3rd game of the season. But if Diego Pavia's got it going at quarterback, and he's running it and he's throwing it and he's making plays, and Vanderbilt is not going to be an easy W like it has been here lately. Just not going to be. So that's a little something to put in your back pocket, because obviously South Carolina will travel to Nashville late in the season. But in the SEC, we saw Oklahoma's defense look good, offense not look very good. Tennessee's defense just tear apart Oklahoma. And the Tennessee offense didn't have to break out all the weaponry, but still a 25-15 win that wasn't as close as a score. Texas A&M barely survived at home against Bowling Green. Again, A&M will be at Williams-Brice coming up this season. And so far, A&M, despite being 3-1, it's been a shaky-ish 3-1. Billy Napier doesn't have to hire a food taster this week. Florida beat a not very good and banged-up Mississippi State team 45-28. Kentucky, and I said this on Saturday, bored Ohio to death 41-6. So really, Missouri was the closest, along with A&M, in getting upset on Saturday. So it's kind of how it looked in the SEC. Top 25, Michigan. Look, I give the Wolverines a ton of props. You look around, you say, okay, we can't throw the football. The forward pass has left Ann Arbor. I get it. I do. We got to run the ball to win. And it worked, because Southern Cal, well, they're soft. They're better than they were on defense last year, but Southern Cal does not want a bare-knuckle boxing match, and that's what Michigan did for 4 quarters. Now, I'll give the Trojans credit. They got down in that game, threw the pick 6, Miller Moss, but then came back to take the lead. Problem was, you had to get a stop, which meant you had to actually tackle a running back. And the Wolverines just ran over the Trojans to get the game-winning score. But hey, enjoy your win, Michigan, because this is not the formula to get yourself in the college football playoff. It's a formula to have a winning record, but it's not the formula to try to even attempt to repeat what you did last year.
Michigan's defense is going to be able to keep them in a lot of games this year. I just don't know if they have the offense to win a lot of games. And I'll give Southern Cal credit. You know, their defense is better than it was a year ago, but this is the type of grinded out game they usually lost by like 30 points last year. So they're doing better in that regard. But, you know, when I look at Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Illinois is ranked now. Like, I don't think these games going to go the way the Wolverines want. I think they can still be good enough to be around 7 or 8 wins, but playoff doesn't seem like it's in the realm of possibility if you can't throw the ball.
I can see you running over enough people to win 8 games, but the other thing is, too, when you play that way, you keep teams in games.
Yes.
So that's something else. And look, Indiana's been better than anybody thought they would be at this point. Michigan State's been a bit more competitive than people thought they would be, so we'll see. Firehouse Sub Text the Hour, 803-404-6100. What do you got there, my man?
Let's see here. Would a loss to Kentucky make the Ole Miss game more interesting nationally, considering how we beat them? That's from Anthony.
I think it would be more interesting here. I don't know. Nationally, an undefeated Ole Miss team rolling into a 3-1 South Carolina probably be more interesting than a 1-loss Ole Miss against a 1-loss Carolina.
Yeah, probably so. Again, the energy around this game is already going to be pretty darn high, thanks to one particular person. And, the Lane Kiffin aspect obviously adds a interesting angle to it as well. I cannot wait for his pressers next week to see what he has to say.
There is going to be a ton of booing going on a week from Saturday. And you know what? I'm not a booer per se, but I get it. I totally get this one. You know what I mean? I get it. I get this booing. It's well-deserved. All right, what's trending at 2? Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. It's coming up. We gave away those tickets, correct?
Yep.
All gone? All right, it's a halftime show and a Reaction Monday on the game. It's a Reaction Monday here on the Halftime Show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game. Thanks for hanging with us, whether you're in Columbia, 107.5 The Game, Florence, 100.5 The Game, Myrtle Beach, 100.3 The Game. Whenever you're listening to us at any point during the day on any show, thank you very much for that. Also, you can stream us at 107.5 The Game. You just go to, on your phone, either Google Play or iTunes, download, listen anywhere in the solar system that they have service, phone service. And you can pop to our YouTube channel on 107.5 The Game. It's at The Game TV Radio, and you can watch us. And if you are watching, thank you very much, and sorry for the shine off my head. Terry Ford, Tyler Head here as we do what's trending at 2 every day, sponsored by Gamecock Traditions and Traditions Fine Jewelry. All right, South Carolina with a huge 50-7 win over Akron. Many, many positives. We know it's Akron. We've said it all day. We get it. We understand. But again, you put a 50 spot on the Akrons of the world. And if you can hold them to 7 and no major injuries, you had a good Saturday.
Outgain them by roughly 400 yards. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yes. You give them the smackdown, and that's what happened on Saturday. One of the things that got better, but it still has to get better, penalties. There weren't double-digit penalties, but there still probably were a few too many for Shane Beamer's taste. Look, if you have any, coaches don't like it. But when all of a sudden you're one of the most penalized teams in college football, they'll drive you crazy.
Yeah, it was better. Only 7 penalties for 7 yards. Now, one of them on that first drive was intentional, where they took the delay game on the punt, so you can even put that one to the side. But, you get holding penalties on guys like Simpkins and Baugh. Those kind of things that we talked about last week where, you have offsides, you have false starts, things you just need to clean up and be better at that obviously aren't going to come back to bite you in a game like Akron. But as we saw against LSU, yes, the calls weren't favorable towards South Carolina, but you correct a few of those mistakes as far as penalties go, and you might have a different outcome.
So here's Shane Beamer talking about the penalty situation after the Akron game. It's cut 13 there, Tyler. Shane, on penalties.
The special teams ones were okay. I don't like them, but they're kind of on us as coaches. The punt was in a 4th down situation where they've always, going back to every game this year, and then go back to their game against Kentucky last year, every time on the first punt of the game, they brought the house to try and block it. So we were really just, trying to draw them off sides, but kind of, take a peek maybe at what the rush was. And we did that, and then it just got low in the play clock, and we just took the delay there. And then on the, I think it was the extra point, it was one of the, I think that was the one where we had the same situation where we threw the little, or Kai ran it in for the 2-point conversion, I think the next time. And I want to say we were lined up in it, that we didn't have the look that we wanted. We brought them back in, and we just ran out of time right there. So those are more on us, but nothing that was upsetting. It was just one of those, we did what we felt like we needed to do there.
Yeah, so, I mean, a couple penalties were because of those type of situations, but we did have some things that, once again, came up that you want to avoid moving forward when you've got the Ole Misses and the Bamas and the Oklahomas and the A&Ms. Also, here's Shane talking about, look, Shane is aggressive. We didn't talk about this last week because we were so busy about, penalties and officiating and everything. When South Carolina had the 2-point conversion taken off the board because Vashawn Leonard was ineligible downfield, you move back 5 to the 8-yard line, and Shane went for 2 again. My thought was, 8 yards, take the extra point, man.
Yeah.
But Shane's very aggressive, and he just coaches aggressively. And that's kind of his MO. Now, here's Shane talking about the aggressiveness on Saturday versus Akron, either on 4th down or on the 2-pointer. Hit it.
I guess I did. I didn't realize we went for it on 4th down that much. No, we wanted to be aggressive in attack. I wanted to be aggressive early, so we decided on Thursday, I think, that the first time we scored a touchdown, we were going to run that little, whatever you want to call it, play that Kai ran in on, something that we've been working for a while. And so we wanted to do that, just to be aggressive the way that we wanted to play the game on special teams, offense, defense. We talked about it as a team that we wanted to be on the attack, and we weren't going to sit around and wait for something to happen. We really wanted to make it happen and be the aggressor early with the way that we were coaching the game. So it was by design. I think some of those fourth downs certainly were towards the end of the game where, I feel like, now that you say it, it makes sense. I feel like I told Dow tonight on the headphones, you got 4 downs more than I ever have here at South Carolina. Just it got where we got a drive going. I thought like we were wearing them down, and touchdowns were going to be big, and really just wanted to send a message to our offense and defense both that, we're going to be aggressive, and if we don't get it on fourth down, defense, we're counting on you to put the ball down and have our backs.
It's interesting. South Carolina on third down was only 5 of 14. Better than they have been. It still has to get better, has to improve. On fourth down, 4 for 5. And the one they missed was the fumble on the snap. So very efficient on fourth down on Saturday versus Akron. But again, I was funny. Shane was like, wow, we really went for it that much? Huh? Because that's the one thing we always lose in these translations of going for it on fourth down is, like, you'll see certain teams, like in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. The aggressiveness of Dan Campbell also comes off as this. I'm very confident that you guys, A, will make it, and B, if we don't make it, the defense will save our butt.
Yes.
I am showing confidence in my entire football team that this decision is going to work for us one way or the other. And that's where this, especially in today's football, so much more than the way, look, coaches have always leaned conservative. And one of the reasons is very simple: save thy butt.
Sure.
Now with analytics and just more aggressive, and the game's more wide open and more points are scored, you lean more to opening up and being aggressive because you're showing your team, I have faith in you. I'll give you one real quick. I'm going to get back to it go just to make sure exactly. I'm not going to waste my time clicking. Oklahoma, Tennessee, Saturday night. 4th and 1. Oklahoma kicks a field goal, tie the game. Tennessee went right down the field and scored a touchdown. You're not going to kick field goals and beat Tennessee.
Right.
Again, let's go back to the defensive coordinator as a head coach. Sometimes that guy's going to be ultra-conservative and play to his defense. You don't play to your defense against Tennessee because that offense, last time I checked, they spend a lot of time in the end zone. You didn't go for it on 4th and 1 if you're Brent Venables. It's still in the first half of that football game. It's only 3-0. Your defense has held up pretty well so far. Why don't you go for it? You're deep in Tennessee territory. You show both sides of the ball. You have faith in this game that's this big in this moment. Let's go get them. Or maybe Brent Venables said, have you seen my offensive line? But the point I'm trying to make is, in today's football, when you go for it on 4th and 1, unless you're being a goober at your own 9-yard line, but if you're in the other team's territory, it's always depending on game situation and time and score. I get it. But if at times you go for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, not only are you showing your offense you have faith in them, but you're showing your defense you have faith in them to get a stop if your offense can't, complete the 4th down.
Yeah, I think for me personally, once you get inside of another team's 45 down to about wherever you feel comfortable with your kickers field goal range, you should probably be going for, I'll even extend it out to like 4th and 2. You know what I mean? I feel like you should probably be at least thinking about it, quite a bit. And I posed the question a little bit earlier, is that also a way of Beamer maybe not being as confident in Alex Herrera right now? Again, he did miss a pretty critical kick at the end of last week's game. We've seen him miss a couple this year already. I don't think that's necessarily the whole reason. I do think it's just, hey, we can take advantage of this opponent that is a lot weaker than us and convert these 4th downs. But something to consider, especially as you get back into SEC play, that if you start going for it more within that range of where you think Herrera can make it, is that just a lack of faith in what your kicker can do?
All right, so we'll continue to talk about this 50-7 victory for South Carolina over Akron as we move through the 2 o'clock hour here on the game. All right, also what's trending at 2 is we had a ton of stuff, ton of football on Saturday and Sunday. Very weird goings on before we go to the NFL. You don't see, like in baseball, managers get ejected, Matter of fact, it's part of the game. It's a fun part of the game, watching a manager scream with an umpire and then see the manager get ejected.
Oh, the lore of Bobby Cox was how many times can he get ejected in a year? He had an entire season's worth of ejections in his career.
We've had some great ones. Bobby Cox, obviously, is the godfather. When I was a kid, Earl Weaver with the Orioles would fight with umpires. He'd turn his hat backwards. He'd take a base with him to the dugout. You had the Atlanta Braves minor league manager do the grenades and all that stuff. So baseball, it's sort of entertainment to watch the manager get kicked by the umpire.
For sure.
We'll see occasionally in other sports, coaches get tossed.
And baseball umpires are very low tolerance. It doesn't take much for them to run you.
Yeah, there's a couple magic words you can automatically get run. We've seen managers, because maybe calls the night before were so bad, we've seen managers get ejected when they're handing the lineup card.
Yeah. Oh, they're what managers getting ejected sitting in the dugout.
Oh, yeah.
By just a shrug of the shoulders.
Right, like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
That call stunk. We've seen Aaron Boone get tossed from the dugout. So we get used to it in baseball. In basketball, occasionally a basketball coach, pro college, will get a couple of texts and get popped. You very rarely see a football coach get ejected. That's what happened to Sonny Dykes.
Yes.
SMU, where he coached before.
And they were not thrilled with him leaving to go to the TCU job.
First of all, that's their rival, number one. And number two, it didn't really go well how he left and everything else. A very bad, bitter beer taste in the mouth of the people at SMU. So SMU at home, TCU comes in, and the Mustangs just
throttle
race them, take them to the woodshed.
66 points.
Sonny Dykes got thrown out of this game.
Yes, he did.
Maybe because he got tired of watching his defense get run over. But Sonny Dykes got tossed, and here is Sonny Dykes post-game talking about getting ejected.
I got kicked out of a game. It's my first time that's ever happened. Certainly uncharted territory for me. Apologize to our players and our fans. That should never happen. Was disappointed it happened. Thought it was maybe unwarranted, but it happened, and that's my responsibility to make sure that never happens. So 100% my fault. Obviously, I got to be better.
Yeah, I would agree. Here's the thing, though. If you are coming off of a season where you backed up your trip to the college football championship game by maybe winning 9 or 10, and then this year you were, let's say, 3-0 before this game, folks would look at it a little different. But last year you went from playing for the national championship. What was that bowl game they were in last year?
There wasn't one.
No, there wasn't one. Totally bottomed out. This year, not only do you fall to 2-2, but you also got whooped by your rival.
They're 7-9 since that national championship game, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm not saying Sonny Dykes, well, it depends how the rest of your season goes. Because if you're TCU, your defense has been awful. You have Kansas, who is unmistakably 1-3 at this point. Everybody thought they'd be better. You got Houston, who's not very good. Utah should probably take you to the woodshed. Texas Tech is a weird team. They could beat you by 20. You could beat them by 20. Baylor just choked it huge against Colorado. Oklahoma State, well, you never know with the Gundies. Arizona, good players. We'll see where that ends up. New coach, and then you go to Cincinnati, who looks, they won a conference game.
Yep.
So if TCU scuffles it this year, I don't know what's going to happen to Coach Dykes. But he'll be on a hot seat in 25 if they don't get it together this year. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Gamecock Traditions and Traditions Fine Jewelry. Let's enjoy some talk about the third-string quarterback throwing a touchdown pass. It was a nice moment at Williams-Brice on Saturday. Also, we'll focus on the NFL as well. It's a Reaction Monday. Terry Ford and Tyler Head, glad you could be hanging as we roll till 3 here on The Game. it's a Reaction Monday on the Halftime Show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head here on the game. Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Here we go again, Tyler.
$500 upcoming.
$500.
Now, we've discovered the secret is you have to leave the press box for this to happen.
I almost left on Saturday in the fourth quarter just for fun to see if it would work. Because last year I left during the Vandy game because it was a blowout, and I wanted to get on the road. There was some reason I took off quick.
Well, it was middle. I think it was an early kick. Weather was bad. And it was a blowout game.
I'm I'm out of here.
All right.
My work here is done.
And no sooner did you probably get off the elevator did it happen.
Got in the car, turned the ignition with the station popping through the speakers, and special teams touchdown. $1,000 to some lucky winner in the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Well, we're halfway there, dude. We're at 500. Again, no special teams touchdown on Saturday. So go to 1075thegame.com. Look on that little flippy thingy at the top. When you see Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Touchdown Contest, click on it. Fill out the little form. It'll take you, 41 seconds?
Something like that.
Click submit. Boom, you're in. You got to do it every week. This week, you do it getting ready for Ole Miss in 2 weeks. Next 2 weeks, just get in. And guess what? If there's a special teams touchdown on the early game, that Monday at 7:30, they will draw a name, and it could be yours, but you got to go get yourself in.
That's right.
Very simple. And we thank Lawyer Lisa again this year. Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest pots up to $500. Okay, so we're doing What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Davis Beville, really nice story on Saturday. Third-string quarterback from the state of South Carolina, came back after being at Oklahoma. Now on Scully, got a chance to get in the game. Actually had time to throw it, make a couple of plays, and then Beville threw a touchdown pass. And it was a very, very cool moment. Here is Shane Beamer, Cut 12, talking about Davis Beville and his really cool moment.
He's been on quite the journey in his college football career, and he's been an unbelievable teammate. He left Oklahoma as a scholarship football player and came here as a walk-on, just wanting an opportunity. And, we've put him on scholarship since then, but he's just been a great teammate. He's been so helpful to Lenoris and then Robbie this week, and really happy for him to have that success. And that touchdown throw was really emotional for him, and because of the journey he's been on, and was really cool to see.
Absolutely.
Last touchdown was in the Peach Bowl when he came in for Kenny Pickett back in 2021 with Pitt.
Think about that for a minute. Kenny Pickett, who's now a backup in the NFL.
Yes.
After being a first-round pick that didn't work out in Pittsburgh.
Does Davis have bigger hands than Kenny Pickett?
Doesn't everyone, I think?
I guess so.
Except for, wait a minute. Oh, geez, I'm blanking. There was another small hand controversy with a quarterback years ago. Ended up going in the second round, bounced around a little bit, got his chance to start here and there. But that was another small hands thing. Every now and then the small hands are a deal with a quarterback. All right. Speaking of the NFL, look, we have sat here and talked about this Carolina Panthers situation. And has Bryce Young played poorly? We've said yes. But the Panthers are a poor organization, and they haven't handled the Bryce Young thing. As a matter of fact, they've given you the handbook on now how not to handle drafting a quarterback high in the first round. So we've made it more than just a Bryce Young thing. It's an organizational thing.
Right.
Well, for one Sunday, the Red Rocket made it look like, well, if you do have the right quarterback in here or a veteran quarterback in here, this offense doesn't look as putrid as if you have the guy who was number one pick overall. But I'll say this, who they play?
Las Vegas.
The crappy Raiders.
Yes. By the way, did you have Dalton being the first 300-yard, 3-touchdown quarterback this season on your bingo card?
Yeah, we picked that. Remember, you and I said that before the season started. He'd be the guy. Just crazy. Look, this doesn't change what the Panthers are. It just doesn't. They're an organization that's dysfunctional. The owner's a joke. The whole thing with Bryce Young has been handled poorly. All you can do is put them in the best position to succeed. and then you see what happens. Caleb Williams threw for over 300 on Sunday, but we've seen Caleb Williams also struggle, and the Bears did everything right for a change.
Oh, they got everything around him that he needs.
But the offensive line hasn't been as good as it was last year, and we're seeing, we're watching Williams really play like a rookie quarterback. And his ceiling was even higher than Bryce Young's, but of course, he already has had a better game than Bryce Young has had on Sunday. But the point is, all you can do is put them in the best position to succeed. So forget the performance of Bryce Young for a minute. The question is, has the Carolina Panthers put Bryce Young in the best position to succeed? The answer, I think, is an easy one, and that would be hell no.
Correct.
But don't get me wrong. Andy Dalton made made Bryce Young really look bad, by the way, on Sunday with Andy Dalton's performance. 319 and 3 touchdown passes in the skunking of Vegas in Vegas. But here's the Fox NFL crew on Sunday, very critical, deservedly so, of David Tepper, the owner of the Panthers.
Of the NFL, and he will. But why has he had all these coordinators and all these head coaches? The owner of the Carolina Panthers, that's the problem. He's making the major decisions without listening to his football people. Tepper? David Tepper. You look at him, and now it's his team. He can do whatever he wants to. But look at the people that's left. Now, he's the one that wanted Bryce Young as the #1 pick. And also look Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Brian Burns. You look at, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. Look at coaches, Steve Wilkes, Frank White, Matt Rule, on and on. He's running them all off. He's making the decisions. He has got to listen to his football people and quit playing fantasy football.
How do you deal with it as a head coach then if you got an owner who's not listening to your football people? Can they ever turn it around there as long as he's the owner?
You keep getting beat, you're going to say, hey, wait a minute, I may not be doing it right. I better listen to somebody that's been doing it his entire life.
I don't think that's how he works. He's $8 billion worth man.
$20 billion.
20? Oh,
20.
I am so sorry. Please forgive me. $20 billion. Yeah, he could care less.
Yeah, but he's got to listen to his football people. They've been doing it every day of their life. I was told one time, Jimmy, you go to bed at night thinking about football. You wake up in the morning thinking about football. Well, that's what these people that are trying to advise him are doing. Listen to them.
Jimmy, give me one reason for Carolina fans to have hope. One, because the owner, they're not going to change. What can they wrap their hands around and say, this is ours?
It's a fun game to watch.
They can watch the other team score?
That's exactly right. Hey, it's going to be years before they turn this thing around.
Well, yeah, as long as David Tepper's your owner. Absolutely. Because you know what else happens with bad owners? Even if it starts going well, you know what they end up doing?
Messing it up.
Screwing it up. By the way, Jimmy has no experience with a meddling owner.
No, not at all. And, ever since Jimmy was unceremoniously escorted out of Dallas, they haven't won any Super Bowls, have they?
Well, they got that one. They got that one with the remnants 2 years later.
That was still with his team, though.
That was Jimmy's team. But once it became Jerry's team,
yeah.
How's it going?
It's always been Jerry's team.
You haven't even made it to the NFC Championship game.
Nope. And God, you look like you're about to get bludgeoned again yesterday by the Ravens.
That went well till. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. We got about a minute and a half. This guy ran over the Cowboys over and over and over again on Sunday.
Get into the eye here. Henry, sweet spot right up the gut. Derrick Henry running for the end zone. He's in. Touchdown, Baltimore.
The Ravens for 3 quarters de-pants the Cowboys. Till the Ravens do what the Ravens do, they blow leads. But they held on to this one to win 28-25, 28-6, with 9 minutes left in the game. The Cowboys were just, again, they're great front runners. If they punch you first, they're great. But if you pop them a couple times upside the head, they lay in the fetal position and cry as they soil themselves. Yep. And you saw that again on Sunday. They're just not a tough football team from the neck up. You hear Micah Parsons after the game, and you hear Dak Prescott after the game, and some of the stuff they're saying, I get it to a point, but is that really the way you want to lead this thing? You have a problem in your locker room with maybe your leaders aren't being listened to, because that might be it too, or maybe they're not respected in the locker room for whatever reason. This is the path the Cowboys go. From the neck up, they're just not very mentally tough. And by the way, the owner runs the show in medals, and how's that going? All right, greatest day in the history of the world coming up next here on the Halftime Show on a Reaction Monday with Terry Ford and Tyler Head on the Game. Oh, greatest day in the history of the world. We always like to go old school in the beginning here, Tyler. This day in 1952, Rocky Marciano knocks out Jersey Joe Walcott in the 13th round to retain his heavyweight title. Interesting part of this fight is that Jersey Joe Walcott was ahead on all three cards. Knocked down Marciano in the first round, then Marciano knocked out Walcott in the 13th round. Of course, Rocky Marciano, an undefeated heavyweight champion. 49-0, 43 of those wins by knockout. Beat Walcott a couple times, took out Archie Moore, Ezra Charles. Some folks thought some of the guys in that era that Marciano beat, put it this way, they didn't look at it as a golden era of heavyweights, but you only fight who you can fight. And Marciano retired undefeated. A little bit after he did retire, he died, tragically died in August 31st, 1969, which was the day before his birthday. Marciano was a passenger on a small private plane heading to Des Moines, Iowa from Chicago. Now get this. Now again, think about this. This is 1969. Nighttime, bad weather. The pilot only had 231 total hours of flying time, only 35 of them at night, and ready no instrument rating. This is the guy flying the plane. And, of course, they ran into some issues. And the pilot tried to land the plane in a small airfield in Iowa, but the aircraft hit a tree 2 miles short of the runway. Everyone on board died. So Rocky Marciano, though, on this day knocks out Jersey Joe Walcott to retain his heavyweight championship. Some records on this day. 1979, Lou Brock steals his 938th base to become the all-time stolen base leader. Cardinals beat the Mets in extras. And, of course, Lou Brock's record later broken by Ricky Henderson. Also, this day, 1988, Jose Canseco becomes the first player to go 40-40, steal 40 bases and hit 40 home runs. Of course, Shohei Ohtani became the first baseball player to go 50-50. Here recently, stealing 50 bags and hitting 50 home runs. But Jose Canseco, of course, not PED induced at all, goes 40-40 on this day in 1988. One other record breaker on this day. Albert Pujols hits 2 home runs, drives in 5. The Cardinals win 11-0, and Pujols becomes the 4th player in Major League Baseball history to hit 700 home runs. So Albert Pujols, and look, Albert Pujols, with the first maybe 13 years of his career, were putting up insane offensive numbers. Well, he started getting old, and when he started getting old, the numbers came down, obviously, but Pujols, maybe at least be fair off the top of my head, the first 10 years. I mean, 300 batting average, 400 on base percentage, 500 slugging percentage. I mean, Pujols his OPS was near 1,000 for a long time, if my memory serves me. Oh, another record breaker. 2018, Drew Brees sets the NFL record for career completions. Threw for almost 400 yards, 3 scores. New Orleans beat Atlanta 43-37 in OT. He breaks the record set by Brett Favre. Look, a lot of records are being set and broken, obviously, in the NFL because of all the numbers these quarterbacks have put up. Has become more of a wide-open passing league, a quarterback-driven league, obviously. So you're seeing a lot of numbers being put up and getting broken as quarterbacks got older. And right now it's interesting because if you look in the NFL, we're seeing passing numbers coming down, and a lot of people are like, oh, what's going on? Because one of the things that pushes the popularity of the NFL, besides gambling and fantasy football, is that, it's a quarterback-driven league, and, there's a lot of yards being thrown for it and a lot of points being scored. So right now, folks are getting a little paranoid. What we got going on here? Part of it is defensive change. Mel Kiper went nuts last week about the two high safeties, the 2 deep safeties, taking away, big plays down the field. 2, you got a lot of young quarterbacks who are either developing or not developing or learning, and that's making things difficult. 3, to be fair, offensive linemen aren't really coming to the NFL prepared to pass protect against these fast, athletic edge guys or guys like Chris Jones in the interior. Offensive linemen just aren't as ready to rock and roll in the NFL as they used to be.
Should we just now consider the first month of the NFL season to be like preseason 2.0 and then the real football starts in October?
We talked about this, what was it, last week or after the first week? Remember, we were like, look, you don't play preseason games, offenses don't get their swerve, don't get their timing. You can only replicate so much in practice. And the fact that you're not playing anybody in the preseason, I get why, but this is the residue of it as well, is, offenses just aren't in rhythm. So by the time you get to the 1st of October, that might really be the feeling of when the season gets cooking for good. And hopefully the offenses get it going.
Hopefully. It'd be nice. It's been
it's been rough, man. I mean, I'm watching it. We're going to watch it.
Sure. It's lacking. It's lacking the substance that it's had before. I'll say that.
Yeah. Oh, one other record breaker on this day, and then we'll move off of the greatest day in the history of the world. Ben Matthews of Bethel picked off 5 passes on this day in 2000. That tied a record. 8 other players have had 5 interceptions in a game in the history of college football.
That's pretty phenomenal.
When I first saw this guy, set the record with 5, I'm like, okay. He goes, but then it's like he tied 8 other people. I'm like, are you serious? Wow. That's some really good DB play and some really bad quarterbacking.
For sure.
So that's the greatest day in the history of the world here on the halftime show in the game. Speaking of quarterbacking real quick, there's a lot, I shouldn't say a lot. There is a growing groundswell of people wondering what is wrong with Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, he's not been Mahomes-like. And what's wrong with Travis Kelce? Is this too much Swift time? What's up, Travis? And what's going on with the Kansas City offense? We forget something. The Kansas City offense had trouble last year because they didn't have any wide receivers who could catch the ball.
Right.
This year, it feels like they're better at wide receiver, but they're struggling because Kelce, he didn't even have 10 catches this year.
Yeah,
at this point.
For one, they're not targeting him a whole lot, and the times they have. I mean, and again, you're going to, as a defense, want to take him away because he has been, Patrick Mahomes' biggest target there. But I'm actually looking at the picture now of the depressed-looking Travis Kelce on the bench last night, right before halftime. It's clear that he probably would like to be featured a little bit more.
Yeah, and the offensive line, which has been a staple in Kansas City, the tackles are having some issues in pass protection. And with these teams playing the way they are defensively in pass coverage now, they're forcing Mahomes to kind of stop doing Mahomes-like things. So the whole thing has kind of been weird. And this started last year. So this isn't just a thing. This has been going on a bit. But your thought is, okay, you've gotten better at wide receiver. At some point, you're going to get it cooking because that squad's too good. That head coach is too good. And they've won 3 games. They could be 0-3.
That's
They're 3-0.
We're talking about them not being true to their form. They're 3-0 right now, including wins over the Ravens in week number 1. And the Bengals last week, Falcons this past weekend. They're still winning despite not clicking on all cylinders.
And here's the sad part. Every one of those 3 teams can go, we had the Chiefs beat.
For sure.
And, your Falcons convert a 4th down, brother. Wow.
Horizontal on 4th and 1? I don't know about that.
I didn't get that one. Bijan Robinson, I didn't get that one, my man. I didn't get that one either.
There could have been an interference called in the end zone on Pitts.
Well, they should have been called.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a coulda. Herman Edwards lost his mind watching it this morning on SportsCenter.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, that's pass interference 100 times out of 100. But, the people that the conspiracy theorists go, wow, Kansas City benefiting from the officials. That never happens. All right. Firehouse Sub text the hour coming up 803-404-6100. And also we'll possibly yip with Jay Phillips in our handoff, sponsored by Little Pigs. That's next. Halftime show, Reaction Monday. Terry Ford, Tyler Head here on the game. All right, time for our Firehouse Sub Text the Hour at 803-404-6100 on a Reaction Monday here on the game. What do you got, Tyler? Hit?
Nameless texter says FSU last year was TCU in 2022. Neither coach built a sustainable roster.
Well, again, remember, the TCU was also heavy transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
You had a couple of veterans that were still hanging out from the last regime. You caught lightning in a bottle, and boom, there you went. Florida State's been very portal heavy the last couple of years. And we see this year, again, sometimes when you roll those portal dice, Jay Phillips, it works out for you, and sometimes you get those snake eyes, man.
You're going to see, I think, a lot of schools now try and figure out where the so-called happy medium really is in this. And I still think that we don't get there until this house settlement and some other things settle down. So I think we're honestly a recruiting cycle away from where the next real iteration of roster management goes. I think some schools will continue to rely heavily, and a lot of
some have no choice.
Well, some don't. If you're ready to jump right in, but then like the number one thing for me moving forward isn't so much going to be how hard do you hit the portal, is how good of a job are you doing as a school of retention through NIL and those kind of things, because the hope is still to be more like what Bama, Georgia, Ohio State are. We're going to recruit you. We're going to develop you.
And then we add.
And then we'll add and fill in a gap or two or maybe three. But we're not looking to fill 25 gaps. And look, it's not fair to say, well, hey, look at what Bama and Georgia and Ohio State are doing. Like, that's not fair. So I don't mean it that way. But again, it's everybody's ideal, because it used to be the norms.
Right.
I mean, period.
Well, you had no choice.
It was the norm.
And I think what's going to happen is there are some schools and some programs, because of lack of NIL money or just lack of things in general, are going to be more portal heavy than others because they have no choice. Especially if you're a group of 5 school and you're getting poached by the bigger schools, you have to go do some poaching too to fill it, because let's face it, your recruiting and development, what might be good, is not going to be on the level of a Power 5, because you just can't be.
Right.
So now they're going to take your guys you develop, right? So now you look at them and go, well, hell, all of our developing guys are going up to the bigger schools. We got to go hit the transfer portal, at least temporarily, to kind of fill us to where we're at. But you're right. Everyone's going to figure out their way on this thing.
Yeah.
And all these extremes, for the most part, will go away, because, like the texter said, a lot of times you can nail it, like Michigan State a few years ago. You can nail that portal thing, and all of a sudden, woo, 10, 11 win season, woo. But if that's going to be your MO, you're also going to be like Florida State right now, sitting at 1-3.
Or TCU. I saw. I mean, Sonny Dykes is. I think they're. Tyler, did you see
What'd
this?
you do with Tyler?
7 and 9.
7-9 since the national
I saw
championship.
That this morning, yeah.
And let's face it, their schedule, it could be a rough year at TCU. Then you got a coach going into 2025. It better get some W's and get back to a bowl game, because if you struggle again this year, they're going to forget about what happened a couple of years ago. Even your own campus is going to say, hey, that was a cool little fluke.
Well, yeah, and when you look at the specifics of their loss on Saturday, to whom, that's, I mean, for people, I mean, I know that nationally it's like SMU, TCU. I know it's not Auburn and
the Iron
Bama.
Skillet or something?
Well,
Isn't that what it is?
I forget the name of it.
One of them.
But it's
Golden Skillet, Iron Skillet.
But in the DFW,
that's a big thing.
That's a massive thing. Mm-hmm. And those are two fan bases that care deeply, like all of them do.
And remember, where did Sonny Dykes come from to take the TCU gig?
Yeah.
SMU.
Yeah. But I will see, and again, to me, it's going to be retention. And even
development,
even Ole Miss lost a guy, and
really
we talk
good
about what
guy.
they're, so.
By the way, he's still running. You see that touchdown, 89 yards or whatever it was on Saturday for our boy?
I'm kind of, I know we don't have a game this week, but I'm bummed. I don't know if bummed is not fair. I don't want to, because I saw some people were really mad at the SEC for the Carolina Ole Miss game being a 3:30, and I was like, I would have preferred that to be a night game.
Oh, we would have loved to see a night game at Williams-Brice, especially if Ole Miss handles their business against Kentucky.
Well, here's the benefit. We have that game at 3:30. You can go home and watch Clemson and Florida State at 7:30 that night.
Woo!
Prime time, baby.
Not woo.
Who's Clemson got this? Clemson's got Stanford this week.
Yeah, that
and then,
classic ACC matchup.
Another classic.
Yeah, then they go to Tallahassee. Yeah, boy, Clemson's scoring points after Georgia didn't let them.
Well, the thing is, look, if you're Clemson, you're happy you're scoring points on anybody right now. NC State, we were talking about this earlier, NC State voted as a football program to skip defense this year.
Yes.
And Appalachian State.
So did Chapel Hill. So did Appalachian State.
How about Appalachian State last week losing to South Alabama, getting trucked?
Badly.
They got trucked.
Badly.
I mean, so I got a question. Is this the same crew of defensive players that's going from Appalachian State to North Carolina to North Carolina State and just changing uniforms?
I don't know, but that was
good.
And look, James Madison's a good football team, but
not 70 good,
not
man.
70 at
no.
Keenan.
Not 70
hey, come on.
good.
Like the guy with the ball, you're supposed to tackle him.
Right. I mean, because remember, Mac Brown offered his resignation. Wouldn't it be funny if the players voted, yeah, Mac, good idea.
That was ugly.
Yeah, it was. What are you doing?
Lots on the Gamecocks. And that team in Charlotte won. That's all.
Well, you handled your problem. You got rid of that quarterback.
Yeah,
Everything's good now.
It's all just the quarterback.
Post-game show next with Jay and Elijah. Tyler, nice work, my man. We'll do it again tomorrow.